eyes to close. And allow yourself to become fully present, fully aware in this very moment. When you close your eyes, all of the visual stimuli disappears. But there's still so much distraction. Sounds and sensations, the past and the future, fears and desires and stories. So just take a moment and allow yourself to come into an experience of this moment that is just right here, right now. And allow to detach itself, unhook itself from all of that which is happening in the world outside. The sounds, the sensations, the smells. But also allow it to unhook itself from that which is happening in the monkey mind. The constant bouncing around. Just allow the awareness to withdraw from all of those things. They're not bad or wrong, don't fight them off. But just allow the awareness to withdraw itself. And allow that awareness to anchor itself in your breath. And just allow that awareness to stay with the breath as it gently flows in and flows out. Don't try to change the breath. Just allow that awareness to merge into it so that you're fully aware of every aspect of the breath, not judging it, not telling a story about it, but just fully anchored. And allow the energy of the eyes to just gently draw upward. Don't force it, don't strain it, but just ever so gently to draw upwards into the third eye. So it's like the two physical eyes are looking at, are beholding the third eye, just in the center between the eyebrows, what's known as our Agya Chakra. Just as the awareness stays with the breath, just allow the energy of the eyes to gently drift upward, as though they were looking through the third eye from the inside out. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level in Namaste. And gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. And then press your palms lightly into your closed eyes. And whenever you're ready, just slowly lower the hands and open the eyes. Welcome to Satsang. Starting, as we always do, with one of the questions coming from our online audience, and then we will open it up to anyone here with any questions. There's a microphone right there in the center, so if you have a question, feel free to just come to the mic and share your name and your question. How do we balance spirituality with earning money, where we need to be corrupt sometimes? And this is asked by Sakshi. So we spoke about something similar a few days ago. And what I think today is that, first of all, there's no reason that spirituality and business can't go together. There's nothing in spirituality that says you have to take vows of renunciation, you have to be a monk, you have to be a nun. There's nothing even that says you're better if you become one. It's not like, a hierarchy of goodness, that if you're a monastic renunciant, you're somehow better than those who aren't. For some of us, it's our dharma. For many people, for most people, it isn't. And that's fine. And actually, in our scriptures, when you read the stories in the scriptures, the vast, overwhelming majority of sages, rishis, yogis, divine incarnations are householders, married people with families. So there's no reason at all that just because you're spiritual, you have to feel like you can't earn money, you have to, only have one set of clothes, and, you can't have nice things. Nothing in spirituality says that. But what spirituality does say, live consciously. Let every decision be a conscious decision. When you stand up from your meditation cushion, from your yoga mat, when you walk out of the door of your temple or synagogue or church or gurdwara or mosque, you should keep those lessons. It's not, oh, I'm one person when I'm, sitting with God, and then I go out the door and I'm a different person. Be consistent. Be conscious, be consistent. On the mat, off the mat. Eyes closed, sitting cross-legged. Eyes open, in the world. Consistency. Should be the same. So you should live in a way that is in alignment with your meditation, with your prayers, with your spiritual practice. Spirituality also emphasizes karma and reincarnation and all of that, these teachings of our spiritual philosophy that remind us what you do has consequences in this life, in next life. And what that means is that if you're doing business, you've got to make sure it's in alignment with these things. And as I said the other night, there's no reason you cannot do business consciously. Personally, I know so many people who are making fantastic livings. Not who are poor, not who are even, kind of low down, but people who are doing really, really, really well all over the world. Doing business consciously. People whose business products, business ethics, business policy is 100% in alignment with their spiritual practice and spiritual teachings and beliefs. It can be done. But if you're in a situation where you find that you have to be corrupt in order to make money, you're in the wrong business. Find something else or find a different way of doing it. But there's no good reason to spend your day doing something that when you come home, you don't want to look yourself in the mirror. Or that you have to reconcile in your mind when you're praying or when you're in temple. Well, anyway, God, everybody's like that. I have to be like that. Yeah, I know it's not right. But anyway, God, you know how it's like. And anyway, please forgive me. I remember many years ago, Pujya Swamiji and I were on a beautiful pilgrimage, a beautiful trip with a group. I won't give any details that could identify the person I'm going to speak about, but a journey with a group of other spiritual people, spiritual leaders, spiritual scholars. And at one point we were at a dinner that they had put together for us. Vegetarian, they knew that we were all vegetarians. But a lot of people around the world don't realize that in India, vegetarian means we also don't eat eggs. So it's almost vegan, except most people drink milk, but they don't eat eggs. Eggs are considered a non-vegetarian food. It's life. Where you are on the potential to actualized spectrum is an irrelevancy in the Indian perspective of vegetarianism. So at the end of the dinner, they brought out this plate of pastries. And coming from the West, growing up with cookies and cakes and pies and pastries, I know very well that 99.9% of them have eggs. And you get really good at knowing what the things that don't have eggs in them look like and kind of how they look different than the ones that do have eggs in them. And a plate of pastries was brought out, and it was very clear that they were full of eggs, and I realized that the people had not realized that vegetarian meant no eggs. So in Hindi, lest we should offend the hosts, I quietly mentioned to the leaders gathered that they might not want to eat those because they have eggs in them. And one of them, as he was reaching into the plate of pastries and grabbing it, he said, don't worry, I'll have a bath in Ganga when I get back. Not someone I would follow. Everyone's got their own karmic journey, their own package. We don't judge each other, but to me, from the path that I'm following, the goal of life is to live in such a way that when you show up in front of the divine, whether that divine is in your temple or your church or your holy place in an actual form of the divine, whether it's in front of Ma Ganga, whether it's just yourself in the mirror, that you don't have to ask for too much forgiveness. Life is hard enough as it is. We get angry, we do judge, we're negative, we hurt unintentionally. That to engage in actions knowingly, that you're going to have to go and confess about or bathe in Ganga about or seek forgiveness about, it makes you really wonder, why bother? Like, what's the point of this? The most meaningful, fulfilling, vibrant, powerful lives that I know, from what I've seen personally and what I've seen in so many, are those in which you are fully in as much alignment as you can be. What you think, what you believe, what you say, and how you live. The more out of alignment those things are, the more inner turmoil there is. The more you speak and live what you believe, the more you do what you say, the more peaceful you are automatically. So, if you're finding that you have to engage in corruption to make money, I would say either can you continue in your same job but in a way with integrity? Can you stop doing corrupt things? Okay, you may not be the fastest guy to get promoted to CEO. It's okay. I know a lot of CEOs who are miserable people. There's nothing that says when you become the CEO, then you're happy. Or if you can't, if you're too low on the totem pole, or sometimes maybe even too high on the totem pole, that there's no way to get out of the corruption, leave the job. Figure out a way to do something else, and it may be less lucrative. And you may have to sell one of the several cars you have. You may have to go on a few fewer shopping trips. But at the end of the day, that internal alignment is going to give you so much more peace, so much more joy than anything that all of the extra money can buy. And there's so many professions, there's so many ways to make an honest living without being corrupt, that there's no excuse, there's no reason to sacrifice your destiny, your karmic destiny, this life, next life, There's no reason to create that turmoil in your mind, that separation from spiritual self and business self, from your beliefs to your actions. There's no reason to do that. All the money in the world isn't worth it. Because all the money in the world can't buy peace. And it can't buy happiness. And if your job is stealing your peace and happiness, find a different way to make money. Yeah. Good. Yes. Come to the mic so we can all hear you. Right there? Yeah, that's okay.
Pranam Mataji. First, this is Ankita. I wanted to ask a question which has been bothering me for a while.
Can you come just a little closer to the microphone?
Is it audible now?
Perfect.
Yeah, Pranam Mataji. So I wanted to ask a question that has been bothering me for a while, for a good amount of some months or maybe lifetime. So here it is. My question is, in the Vedas in general, it's written that your Mata and Pita are your first gurus. And then you also have your spiritual gurus.
Yes.
And God being the supreme guru. So sometimes in life, you come in a place where, your mother and father, they want you to do something else, and your spiritual guru wants something else. So what should be done in such a situation?
Yeah.
Because again, hurting your parents is the same as hurting God in some way, right? So you don't want to do that, you don't want to do this. So what does one do in such a situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're told spiritually our parents are our guru, that our parents are divine. And what do you do when their agenda for you is different than what you know you want to do? And so reverence does not always mean obedience. Love does not always mean obedience. And there are absolutely times in which we need to be able to find the reverence, the respect, the love for our parents as divine. They've given us life. And yet simultaneously have the courage and the clarity to not necessarily obey. Because in addition to being divine, in that they have given us life, they're also humans. And they're humans who are struggling. Raise your hand in this room, if you are 30 years old or younger. If you're younger than 30, is there anyone younger than 30? Raise your hand. Okay. So stand up. Stand up. Everyone younger than 30, stand up for a moment. Okay. Now just look around. They're kids, right? I mean, beautiful, wonderful, but they're kids. Everybody agree with me? Beautiful, you can sit down. That is the average age that most of our parents were when they had us. Would you expect any of those people who just stood up to be totally free of their own confusion, of their own fear, of their own desire, of their own anger, of their own attachments, of their own false identities and stories, right? They're kids. They're doing the best they can, but they're kids. And as we work with the sanskaras, the impressions that we got in our early childhood from our parents, as we work with the relationship with our parents, it's really important to remember that, yes, we revere them as divine. They have given us life. There's nothing more divine than that. Brahma is the divine creator, right? Vishnu is the divine sustainer. Well, in our lives, that's what our parents did, right? They created us and they sustained us. Divine acts. And yet, they're human. With confusion, with fear, with insecurity, with ego, with false identifications. And it would be unfair, grossly unfair of us, to assume and expect that every single thing they said or they wanted or they did was perfect. They're divine. But the aspects of them that are telling us, do this, do that, are their human aspects. What does God tell us? Read the scriptures. There's nothing in the scriptures that says anything like, oh, you need to become an engineer. Better get married, you're getting old. Don't you run off there, you got nothing in the scriptures that says anything like that. Nothing in the scriptures that says marry him, not him. Nothing in the scriptures that says this job, not that job. The scriptures say, follow your dharma. The scriptures say, anchor yourself in your dharma. Connect to the divine. And that divine lives in you. In you. Not only in your parents, in you also. When we do namaste to each other, what are we doing? We are bowing to the divine in each other. The core of our spiritual tradition is that each of us is divine and has access, direct access to the divine. And so the key, and it's very delicate, not easy at all, I know this. I've lived this personally, and I've seen many people live it, is finding that space that is full of love, of reverence, and yet that at times is not necessarily obedient. It's not that you're purposely disobedient, right? You know, when kids are about 2 and they discover the word no, right? You say to them, do you want to go to sleep? No. Do you want to stay awake? No. Do you want to go outside? No. Do you want to stay inside? No. Whatever you say, it's just no. As you mature, the no is not just to exert this newfound autonomy. The no is not about disobedience for the sake of disobedience. Many times you will say yes. Probably the majority of times you will say yes. But there will be times in which your inner divine voice tells you something different than what they tell you. You take what they say, you think about it, you respect it, you honor it, you do not immediately rebel against it. Because you recognize that they want the best for you. And at the end of the day, you follow your own inner dharma. I remember when I decided to move back to India, I knew that my mom did not want me to go. And I knew that having the conversation was just going to be not fun. And so I wrote her a letter, figuring, put it in writing, give her time to digest it before we have a conversation about it. And in the letter, I said, look, I love you. Both of you, and it was to both of my parents, mom and dad. I love you deeply. I respect you fully. I know that your lives work for you. And that makes me so happy. And I respect that so fully, that you have created lives that work so well for you. But I don't want to be you. And if I don't want to be you, said with all the respect and love, but just a recognition that we are different, if I don't want to be you, I can't follow the same path you did. If I get on the same train you got on, I'm going to get to the same destination. And I said, look, I was 25 at the time. I said, I have no idea where actually ultimately I'm headed. I said, but out of everyone I've ever met, Pujya Swamiji is the person for me, for whom I look at him and I say, that's where I want to go. Will I reach there? Probably not. But that's the direction. That's the direction I want to go. Which means that's the train I've got to get on. And for me, that was the best way of expressing. I'm being led. So reverence does not mean obedience. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you, Mataji, telling me about, I can't express in words, but
That's okay. I get it, yes.
So,
do you mind if, I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead. You have another question?
A small one.
Okay.
So, you would understand that, so when you're an empathetic soul...
I'm so sorry?
When you're an empathetic soul who's been looking for peace everywhere since the start of your birth, and you have performed well, this, that, you've taken care of people, somehow by doing anything that hurts others, kind of like you feel that deeply, so it holds you back a lot of times. But sometimes you know that that's the right thing to do.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, empathy is a beautiful quality. It's a beautiful quality. But remember that you are at the highest level. You should be empathizing with someone's highest self. Not their triggered, I don't want to say lower self, but not their triggered, confused self. Empathy should not become enabling. Imagine that I'm a drug addict. And I'm trying to quit. You're my friend. I say, okay, I'm going to not use, you sit here, you be with me. And as I start to go through withdrawal, I need some drugs. And I start getting very upset, very agitated, not just emotionally, but physiologically. It's a physiological addiction. Having a real hard time here. And I start yelling and crying and saying to you, look, if you love me, if you care about me at all, like I'm dying here, please, for God's sakes, go get me some. Like I need some, I'm dying here. The most empathic thing to do is not to go out and get me a hit. Yeah, it's going to ease my pain in the moment. But all it's done is created more pain in the long run. The most empathic thing to do is to sit there and hug me and hold my hand and be there with me in my pain. But holding a vision of a higher, healthier, more evolved self for me. And in the same way, if I need you to act in a certain way, to choose in a certain way, to live in a certain way, to speak in a certain way, so that I feel okay. I mean, imagine we're married and I'm your husband, or that I'm your brother, let's say. And I've got a bit of an inferiority complex and a bit of an ego situation, and I always need to feel like I'm really important. And wherever we go, when people talk to you, I get really insecure, and I always try to like interrupt and kind of push you down. And I say to you, look, you need to do something for me. Like, for God's sakes, just stop talking to people. Because I need them to pay attention to me. And like, for God's sakes, wherever we go, just please do not talk to anybody, be nice to anybody, share with anybody, don't answer anybody's questions. If they ask you anything, just be really monosyllabic, yes, no, so that then everybody pays attention to me. Now, for you to do that, is that actually beneficial for me? Right? I mean, all you're doing is enabling my disease. All you're doing is enabling my ignorance. You're allowing me to continue to live in such falseness. And the moment that you step into your fullness and you say, you know what, I love you and you are wonderful, and so am I. And there is more than enough space and light for both of us to coexist in the same space. What that actually does is it forces me to do some inner work so that in order to feel and find my light, I don't need to extinguish yours. And that actually is very powerful for my spiritual path. And if you just keep doing what I want, I'm going to go through my whole life thinking that the only way that I can feel okay about myself is to extinguish everybody else's light around me so that mine looks brightest. And that's like the worst thing you can do for somebody's self-esteem. Because the underlying message is that my light is very dim and I need everybody else to be off completely in order for my light to shine at all. So you see how that's enabling, not empathic. And so what I would say to you is, change your definition of empathy. You're not here to just ease everybody's present moment situation. helping people, loving people, being empathic for people, bringing love and joy and ease and peace to people is not always in this moment. If you love someone who's 400 pounds and diabetic, the nicest thing to do for them is not bake them cookies. No matter how much they may want cookies. And the same goes for people around you who want something from you that is not right for you. And they live in an illusion that the only way they can be peaceful and happy is if you do what they want. And by you abiding, you are just reinforcing their belief that they are so weak that they cannot handle anybody not doing what they want. Let them step into their full strength. That's a gift. Yeah,
Thank
great.
you, Mataji.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Yes, you. Yes.
Namaste. I'm Sarita Sharma. Can I ask my question in Hindi?
Sure.
As I am not very fluent with English.
No
actually.
problem. I will happily translate.
एक बहुत अपने करीबी को खो देने के बाद दुख होता है सबको, और लेकिन वो दुख धीरे धीरे हल्का पड़ता जाता है, कम होता जाता है. लेकिन स्पिरिचुअलिटी, आध्यात्मिकता इसमें कैसे मदद करे कि अगर किसी का वो दुख वर्षों तक, जिंदगी भर तक बहुत पेन दे रहा है और जा ही नहीं रहा, किसी अपने को, किसी अपनी संतान को या किसी को खो देने का दुख, इससे कैसे हैंडल कर सकते हैं, कैसे मदद मिल सकती है? गीता, रामायण, भगवत, सत्संग, एवरीथिंग ट्राई करने के बाद भी अगर वो दुख जाता नहीं है तो उसे कैसे दूर किया जाए?
She said, when you lose someone who's really close to you, obviously you're very sad in the beginning. But typically, slowly, the sadness subsides. She said, but what to do when that sadness does not subside? What to do when years later you are still full of grief? And you've read all of the scriptures, you've listened to all of the teachings, but the grief just doesn't go away. Let it be there. Let it be there. There's nothing that says grief is bad. Let it be there. You can't push grief away. However, along with grief, allow yourself to experience joy as well. Yes, there is grief. Allow it. Don't push it. Don't think of all these things as some ways to remove the grief. मान लीजिएगा ये रहेगा grief. Okay. चलो ठीक है. अब grief आ गए घर में. However, you can expand the size of that internal house. Expand your internal experience. So there's now room for grief. Okay. This is now a part of who I am. There is this grief. And I can also simultaneously experience joy and look for more and more opportunities in which you can find deep and meaningful joy. I don't mean just upar-dupar kichis. Some of the best ways to work with sadness that doesn't go is bringing help to others. Use the time that you have, use the abilities that you have to help others. Volunteer in schools, in orphanages, in programs for women, plant trees, work in animal shelters, work with those who don't have anyone to love them. Go to old age homes, go to hospitals. Get some proper seva, some proper work that you're doing on a regular basis, in which you are interacting with people who are also grieving in their own way, whether due to illness, theirs or somebody else's. And allow yourself to help them, to bring love to them. Tutor children. You know, become a tutor for the Anganwadis, for the, slum schools that the government runs. They need all the help they can get. The kids come to school, but they've got no one to tutor them. Tutor these kids. Volunteer at a, state hospital. Do something that allows you to be engaged on a deep, meaningful level with other people's pain. To help ease somebody else's pain. Second thing is, there are ways sometimes in which sound, music, art, poetry, literature, but really good stuff. I don't mean trashy novels. Can actually touch a place deep within us that all of the words spoken by well-meaning people can't necessarily touch. Sometimes a poem, a song, some classical music, a specific raga, can that actually touches us energetically very deeply inside. So service, deep, profound, healing sound, music, art, and just presence. Okay, there's sadness. That's okay. What it means is that you loved very deeply. It means you really, really loved. Allow that love to be there. What will happen slowly is the pain will, but you will change and grow around that pain. It will still exist, but you will be able to coexist with it. And you will be able to find moments of great joy. And this is also really important because a lot of times when there's pain, We feel guilty for feeling joy.
Yes.
And so we keep ourselves, there's a voice in our heads that say, how dare you laugh? How dare you be happy? This person is no longer here. And there's a guilt that says it means you didn't really love.
Yes, yes.
Right? And you've got to get over that guilt. Because, first of all, they wouldn't want you to feel like that. If they loved you as much as you love them, the last thing they want is for you to be miserable. They want you to feel joy again. But also you have to get over the guilt, because finding joy in the world does not minimize how much you loved them. But what it means is that you are able to put one foot in front of the other and be able to reconnect with the gifts of life. And the being in you who loved them and them who loved you, all of that exists in love. But if you push away joy, you push away love. So you should never feel guilty. When the pain arises, let it be there. Don't feel guilty about that. And when joy arises, let it be there. It's beautiful. And in that joy, now you're experiencing joy on behalf of them also.
I'm living with this guilt
Yeah.
for last 30 years. Sorry.
No, nothing to be sorry. Are you ready to be done?
Sorry?
Are you ready to be done with it?
I could not.
अब तैयार है उसको छोड़ने के लिए तैयार है गिल्ट तो पहले गिल्ट को छोड़ने के लिए तैयार होना चाहिए
गिल्ट को छोड़ने के लिए
तैयार है ना
उस याद को छोड़ने के
नहीं नहीं याद को क्यों छोड़ेंगे किसी को प्यार नहीं किया तो याद क्यों छोड़ेंगे बिल्कुल मत छोड़ो गिल्ट को छोड़ो याद तो रखो
बहुत सालों तक मैं खा नहीं सकती थी अच्छा म्यूजिक एंजॉय नहीं करती थी मूवीज नहीं देखती थी कुछ नहीं करती थी बहुत सालों तक फिर धीरे धीरे सब शुरू किया एंड मैंने लिखना शुरू किया मैं कविताओं में लिखती हूँ और ट्रैवल करती हूँ काफी ईश्वर की बहुत कृपा है मेरे ऊपर
अच्छा ये बताओ वो चाहेंगे कि आप दुखी रहेंगे जिसको आपने प्यार किया
जी बिल्कुल नहीं
वो चाहेंगे कि आप दुखी रहेंगे नहीं चाहेंगे It's not sadness is not
yes
a sign of how much you love someone. The ability to hold them in your heart and open your heart to joy and to love, that's the greatest sign. That's the greatest sign, because if you stay sad and you stay guilty, what it's saying to them is, you must want this. And that's making them very small. आप उनको यही कह रहे हैं कि आप बिल्कुल ऐसे चाहोगे कि मैं दुखी रहूं, कि आप नहीं चाहोगे कि मैं जीवन को enjoy कर सकूंगी.
जी.
But that's not true. That's not true.
मैं चेतन में ये सब बहुत समझती सोचती हूँ लेकिन अब चेतन में बैठा रहता है और जैसे ही दिवाली का मौसम आता है क्योंकि दिवाली पर ही सब कुछ हुआ था तो 1-2 महीने से पहले से परेशानी शुरू हो जाती है
ये तो नॉर्मल है that's normal ठीक है तो समझ लीजिएगा कि दिवाली मनाना थोड़ा सा कटिंग तो होगी कोई बात नहीं आप खूब सारे रामनवमी मना लो no problem. She said, celebrating Diwali, they died at this time of Diwali, and so celebrating Diwali is very, very painful. I said, it's okay. So, okay. This time of year will always be sad for you. So celebrate a different holiday. Celebrate Ram Navami in March, April, fully. This time of year naturally will probably always be sad. But then in the rest of the year, celebrate Ram Navami, celebrate Navaratri, celebrate Holi, celebrate Shivratri, celebrate Krishna Janmashtami. Celebrate the other holidays. Celebrate every day. Recognize that you're living now, not just for you, but you're living for them also, with them, in you. Otherwise, you make them very small and very narrow and very shallow to think that, oh my God, they would want me not to celebrate Diwali. Would they really want you to be so sad? Of course not. Of course not. The greatest tribute to them.
Sure.
The greatest tribute to them is you living your life in the fullest way. The fullest way, full of that love that they gave you, full of the love that you gave them. Now share that with the world.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
और ये गिल्ट आप समझ लो, गंगा माँ ने आपको बुलाया, इसी समय बुलाया, आप गंगा के पास खड़े हो जाएगा, सारे जो गिल्ट है उसको दे दो उनको. सुबह के यज्ञ में बातो यज्ञ में दे दो और गंगा जी को दे दो कि हे माँ, ये गिल्ट मेरे से ले लो, बस थक गए, बहुत हो गया, प्यार से जीऊंगी. जब भी उसी प्यार में दुख आता है तो कोई बात नहीं, आने दो दुख, लेकिन गिल्ट, मेरा गिल्ट ले लो.
कल आपने कहा था वो सत्संग में कि अंजुरी में जल लेकर अपना सारा भीतर का वो, तो आज मैंने सुबह किया था, बड़ा हल्का, बहुत हल्का फील.
बहुत है, अब और करो.
बहुत बहुत आभार आपका, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. मैं बहुत लाइट फील कर रही हूँ.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know there's more questions. I'm so sorry. We're going to have to bring satsang to a close tonight. But आपकी question कल से शुरू करेंगे. We'll start with your questions tomorrow. I'm sorry? So do one thing. If you give the questions then in writing. Okay. No problem. Okay.
My name is Prashant. I have traveled all the way from Pune to this place, and the reason is I got your darshan a few months back when you visited Pune during 75th birth anniversary of Govind Giri Ji Maharaj. That was the time when I was totally, I don't know what to say, but you can understand what the situation was. But I will come directly on without wasting time. The question is, we believe whatever we have in our life is the result of our past karma. But sometimes we doubt what kind of toxic person we were that we are facing such thing in this era, this world, this birth.
So don't worry too much about those sorts of questions. Yes, we understand that whatever I have done in the past is that which has brought me to where I am today. But you can't rewind life. You can't even rewind this life, let alone back to past lives. You can't undo anything. There's no point feeling guilty today for what your Jivatma did in a different body with a different understanding, a different karmic package, different sanskaras in a previous birth. You have one job and one job only. With this body, this life, this buddhi, this intellect, this mind, this heart, live every moment with as much compassion, as much clarity, as much sincerity, as much devotion, as much dedication, as much selflessness, transparency, integrity, honesty, love, as you possibly can. That is your only job. And you take what comes, you understand, okay, this is coming out of something from my past. I will go through it with strength, with resilience. And I'm going to make sure that later in this life or next life, I don't have to go through this type of pain again, which is why now I'm making very different choices. So you start from now. What you're doing now is laying the path for the experiences you're going to have in the future. This life and your next life. So don't worry about that you have no control over. Focus on that you do have control over. Okay?
Mataji, I have one more question, but it already got covered by your teaching. My one question is how to survive in a relationship. I'm a married person. I'm a father of 2-year son. The other partner is very toxic, and because of your teachings, we are continuously following. We are just surviving on a daily basis. We go to sleep. We get up, prepare for our job. I work for US healthcare. I'm an engineer. But in a materialistic world, we seem very successful. Everything we have, but...
Okay. So, given that you have a 2-year-old child, my advice for you is somewhat different than it might be in other circumstances. Do whatever you possibly can to work it out. If you're carrying a lot of pain from your past, and you're living with this like shadow over your head, and you've labeled your wife toxic, you're creating an environment. We say, jaise drishti vaise shrishti. As is my vision, so is my creation. Try to see, can you change your vision and can it change the creation? If you go back from Rishikesh, changed, new vision, okay, I am changed, this relationship is going to be different. And if, as you said, you're doing very well, wonderful. Take some time off work. Both of you, take a week off work. Go away someplace. Take some time. Bring your beautiful child. Or if you've got parents you can leave the child with for a week, either way. But take a week in which you are dedicating yourself just to rebuilding your relationship. And one commitment you make is, nothing from the past can come into that week. So you cannot say, Acha, you did that to me a year ago. I hate it when you do this. Nothing from the past. 1 week, blank slate. Blank slate. You begin fresh. Imagine it is your wedding night. Do not bring any baggage from the past. No expectations from the past, no labels from the past. When you go home now, is your wife here with you in Rishikesh?
She has left the home 5 months back.
I'm sorry?
She has left the home 5 months back. We are struggling to see the face of baby, and...
She left the home 5 months ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Do whatever you can do. Do whatever you can do to make it up to her. Is she back with her parents?
Yes.
Go to them. Be as humble as you can. Do not tell them she is toxic.
Mataji, both mindset is different.
I
believe
know.
in spirituality, and she love to, lavish life. Even she earns a lot.
I understand. But
She feel life is hell in spirituality and all. She don't believe on all these things.
that's okay. There's lots of people in spiritual paths who have partners who are not on spiritual paths. That's okay. There's no rule that your partner has to be on a spiritual path. Your spiritual path should allow you to see and accept somebody wherever they are. So I want you, tomorrow, have a bath in Ganga. And in that bath in Ganga, I want you to ask Ganga to wipe away all of the negative thoughts you have about your wife. All of the labels, all of the judgments. Everything in you that says, she's like this, she's like that, wipe it away. And allow you to emerge from that Ganga bath so grateful for her and loving her. And I want you to go to her parents' home. And I want you to ask her with love and reverence to come back and be with you. That you will not judge her. That you will not make her feel badly. That you will, she wants to live a lavish lifestyle, fine. You've said you're very well to do, let her shop. It's okay. If you didn't have money to feed the family, it would be a different situation. Let her shop, it's okay. You meditate, she shops, fine. No problem. Don't try to make her like you. Let her do what she does. Accept her for as she is. That's what spirituality teaches us. Is that we don't try to change other people. So I want you to go back as humbly as you can, and I want you to ask for forgiveness. That you were arrogant in your own beliefs and ideas, and you're so sorry. And she is a gift to you, and your child is a gift to you. And that you will work to be a much better husband, a more accepting husband. This is what spirituality teaches us. To say sorry, even if the other person is the one who should say sorry, spirituality teaches us, no problem. Say it on your behalf, say it on the other guy's behalf. But bring back peace in the home. Okay? Beautiful.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yes. And Taraji, maybe you can spend some time with him at dinner. Okay. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your evenings. A beautiful day to our family all over the world. And so much love to you all.